You open the front door, carrying a battered cardboard box stein. Inside that box is a life you just pulled from the cold street. Your heart is racing with the pure adrenaline-fueled desire to save them. The instinct is almost impossible to resist. You want to open the box right there in the middle of your bright living room. Step back and watch this frightened creature realize they are finally safe. You want to give them the whole house, the soft couches, the wide windows, and the immediate freedom they were so brutally denied outside. We have all felt this overwhelming urge. We want to erase their suffering in a single sweeping gesture. But this is the exact moment where so many well-meaning rescues go completely wrong. This is the story of how we learned to stop offering overwhelming freedom and started offering something much better. This is the story of a little cat named Choco and the quiet, structured magic of the strict 7-day quarantine. When I first began rescuing, I made the classic mistake that almost everyone makes. I would bring a stray cat inside and simply let them loose into the house. I thought a big, warm home would instantly cure the trauma of the alleyways. I believed that an open door meant love, and that a lack of cages meant pure compassion. But let us look at this scenario through the eyes of a cat like Choco. Choco was a tiny, trembling shadow we found huddled behind a wet dumpster, completely overwhelmed by the noise and danger of the city. When you take a cat like Choco, whose entire nervous system is tightly wired for survival, and suddenly drop him into a vast, unfamiliar landscape like a living room, you are not giving him a sanctuary. You are giving him a terrifying new jungle to navigate. To a deeply frightened stray, a large open room is simply a giant space where predators could attack from any possible angle. There are strange human smells, humming refrigerators, sudden shadows moving across the walls, and nowhere to press their back against for security. Instead of feeling gratitude, Choco feels dangerously exposed. His first instinct is not to jump on the sofa and purr. His first instinct is to scramble desperately for the deepest, darkest corner he can find. He will wedge himself behind the heavy washing machine, or squeeze deep under the living room sofa, his heart pounding against his ribs, his eyes wide and dilated with terror. He will stay there, frozen and starving, too afraid to come out for food or water. And once a new rescue hides like this, the real problems truly begin. You cannot reach him to socialize him or offer comfort. You cannot easily see if he is limping or injured. And most dangerously, if you have other pets in the house, you have just exposed your entire home to whatever invisible illnesses he carried in from the streets. The rescue and release method is driven entirely by human emotion, but it completely ignores the biological and psychological reality of the animal in front of you. This is where the entire approach must change. True rescue is not just about having a big heart. It is about having a disciplined mind. It is about moving from the emotional chaos of rescue and release to the professional standard of a mini shelter. And the absolute cornerstone of that professional standard is the strict 7-day quarantine. When we brought Choco home from that wet dumpster, we did not take him to the open living room. We walked straight past it. We took him to a small, quiet, spare bathroom. Inside, we had already set up a large, secure recovery tent. Inside that tent, there was a soft fleece bed, a small litter box, and bowls for fresh food and water. We placed him inside gently, zipped the mesh door shut, and turned the overhead lights down low. The first crucial step of the mini-shelter standard is this physical isolation. It feels heartbreaking at first. You want to hold them, comfort them, and integrate them into your family right away. Leaving a cat like Choco alone in a quiet room, enclosed in a mesh tent, might feel like you are ignoring him or punishing him. But in reality, you are giving him the greatest gift possible. You are giving him the gift of boundaries. By confining him to a small, predictable space, you instantly shrink his terrifying world to a manageable size. He no longer has to visually scan a massive room for invisible danger. He only has to worry about the four corners of his small enclosure. This physical boundary allows his racing heart to finally slow down. The quarantine period is a mandatory decompression zone. It is the necessary bridge between the terrifying street and the ultimate safety of a forever home. But the quarantine is not just about mental health and decompression. The second pillar of the mini-shelter process is strict, uncompromising sanitization. When Choco arrived, his fur was matted, his paws were stained with street dirt, and we had no idea what microscopic passengers he was carrying. Stray cats are warriors, and they bear the invisible scars of their battles. They can easily carry upper respiratory infections, internal parasites, ringworm spores, or highly contagious feline viruses that can linger on surfaces and spread through the air. The closed door of the quarantine room becomes a secure biological barrier, protecting the rest of your home. This means the rescuer must adopt a completely new mindset. You are no longer just an animal lover, you become a strict medical nurse. You wash your hands roughly with antibacterial soap before you enter Choco's room, and you wash them aggressively the moment you leave. You keep a separate pair of slippers just for that specific space. You absolutely do not let your resident cats sit outside the door and sniff the crack at the bottom. You wash and disinfect his food bowls separately from the rest of the household dishes. It sounds clinical, exhausting, and perhaps a little cold to treat a rescue like a biohazard. But this rigorous hygiene is an act of profound love. It protects your resident pets from potentially devastating outbreaks, and it ensures that Choco receives focused, uncontaminated care while his fragile, stressed immune system attempts to recover. You are building an invisible fortress around him until he is strong enough to step outside of it. Inside this quiet, sanitized fortress, the third and most vital part of the 7-day process begins: the silent observation. When a cat is terrified, they will not cry out and tell you if they are sick. Their ancient survival instinct tells them to hide all weakness from potential predators. Therefore, you cannot rely on Choco coming to you for help. You have to learn to read the silent clues he leaves behind in the dark. The most important of these clues are found in his daily habits. You must monitor his input and his output. The first critical milestone in observation is eating. For the first 24 hours, Choco did not touch a single bite of his food. He stayed completely frozen in the back corner of his crate, watching the food bowl with wide, untrusting eyes. This is completely normal for a highly stressed cat, but it requires careful watching. If Choco had been hiding under a couch in the large living room, we might have assumed he was eating the dry food we left out at night, when in reality, the resident pets were finishing it. But in his strict isolation room, the data is incredibly clear. We could measure exactly how much wet food was missing. We could try different textures, warming up smelly chicken broth to entice his sense of smell, leaving the room, and checking back an hour later. And when that first little bite is finally taken, when you walk in and see the bowl licked clean, the physical relief washes over you. It means his digestive system is working. It means the will to live is returning. The second part of observation, and perhaps even more important than eating, is the litter box. Monitoring urine and feces is the most unglamorous, yet absolute most critical job of any rescuer. A cat's waste is a direct window into their internal health. Is he urinating at all? If a frightened male cat like Choco holds his bladder and does not urinate for a day, it could signal a life-threatening blockage brought on by severe stress. Is there diarrhea in the box? This could indicate a severe internal parasite load, or the beginning of a dangerous viral infection that requires immediate veterinary intervention. In a large house, a terrified stray might relieve themselves deep inside a dark closet or under a guest bed out of pure fear, leaving you completely unaware of their brewing medical emergency. But in his quarantine tent, Choco's small litter box told us everything we needed to know without us ever having to touch him. Every morning, scooping that box was a vital diagnostic check. The first solid clump of urine proved his kidneys were functioning, and that he was feeling safe enough to drink water in the dark. The first perfectly formed stool told us his digestion was stabilizing, and he was not fighting a severe infection. These small daily proofs of life are the quiet victories of rescue work. They are not glamorous moments you can easily capture on camera, but they are the undeniable signs that the safety you are providing is actually working on a deep biological level. As the 7 days slowly pass, a beautiful, visible transformation occurs within that quiet room. Because Choco was not forced to face the entire overwhelming house all at once, his confidence naturally begins to build within his small territory. Around day 3, the frozen, terrified posture softens. He starts to stretch out his back legs when he sleeps. Around day 5, you walk into the room, and he does not scramble backward against the mesh. Instead, he holds his ground, blinking slowly, watching your hands with genuine curiosity instead of blind terror. By keeping his world small, you have allowed him to finally master his environment. By keeping his space strictly clean, you have kept him healthy. By silently monitoring his habits, you have guaranteed his survival. When day 7 finally arrives, and the vet gives the clear, the door to the quarantine room is opened. But the energy is completely different from that chaotic, adrenaline-filled first day of rescue. Choco does not bolt out of the room in a blind panic, looking for a place to hide. He steps forward slowly, sniffing the air, his ears pitched forward, his tail held cautiously high. He is ready. He is healthy. He finally understands that humans are the bringers of food and the gentle keepers of quiet spaces. The beautiful transition from a desperate, starving stray to a confident, beloved companion does not happen by accident. It happens through discipline. It happens through structured care. It happens when we realize that true compassion is not about giving a broken cat the whole world on the very first day. It is about giving them a safe, tiny corner of it and waiting patiently in the quiet until they are truly ready to explore